today we're talking about a topic called Can You See Me? And this is relating to pulse oximeter. And we're talking about the bias and innovation in healthcare. So there's no other person to talk about it other than my very good friend Gemma, who is here today. So Gemma, you are welcome to the show. How are you doing?
I'm good, thank you. Thank you very much for inviting me today.
Good. So welcome everybody. Today we are driving into a critical discussion on pulse oximeter, its limitation for patients with darker skin tones. Oh, I'm a dark skin tone, so definitely this is something I would like to ponder about. And the innovation approaches that can help us move forward more equitable healthcare. Gemma Poole is a very good friend who I've known over the years, and Gemma is a midwife, and also she's the CEO of Essential Baby Company. So Gemma is going to ponder on the topic, and we're going to be taking it from step to step. So Gemma, tell us about you.
So a little bit about me. I'm a registered midwife and also a mum and an auntie. And how I started the Essential Baby Company was simply because as a midwife, I could see that we wasn't treating everybody the same, and that didn't sit right with me. And also the information, advice and guidance that I was practicing wasn't equitable. So that means it wasn't fair to everybody. And as a auntie, my nephew got extremely poorly because he had jaundice and it wasn't picked up, purely because of the training that healthcare professionals had to pick up jaundice. Basically, because he had a different skin tone, he was said, I can't see yellow in his skin, so he will be okay. And obviously he wasn't, and it wasn't picked up. So that kind of spurred me on to try and find out why these inequalities happen in maternity care, but more importantly, what other things have we got biased in? What other things are not fair, and what can we do about it?
Oh, great. So Gemma, let's show them what a pulse oximeter looks like.
Yes. So you may have seen this in hospital. So if you've ever been in hospital, the first thing that they will do is to put something that has a few numbers on onto your finger. So it goes like that. So basically, you might not be able to see the numbers, but it will calculate how much oxygen is in your body. So that's called saturation, and it's normally a percentage between 100% saturation is good. It means that you've got enough oxygen in your body, and it also takes your heartbeat as well. In hospital, you will have this connected onto a device. So you might have like a little lead onto a bigger device that makes beeping noises. But mine's 97%, it says, so that's good. So basically, it's a pulse oximeter is something that will go onto your finger. Sometimes you find something that will go onto your like earlobe if you haven't got your fingers or on your toes. But normally it's something that clips on.
Oh, great. So another way we can also check the heart rate as well. We go through the old school method where we had to put the hands on the feel the pulse and count it within 1 minute, which is 60 seconds. That's the old way when technology fails. But today, Gemma, let's start by breaking down how the pulse oximeter works. You've already said that. Now, could you explain the technology behind it and why it's been widely adopted?
Yes. So pulse oximeter was a great invention when it first come out. Basically what it does is it has like a little infrared inside. You might be able to see a little red light or not, but it's a little infrared little button in there. So what that infrared does is it bounces into your bloodstream, and it bounces the light back out. And that the red the light in that, depending on how much is absorbed, tells you how many percentage or how much oxygen is in your body.
Okay, that's interesting, because there's a critical issue when it comes to patients with dark skin. So how do we quantify that statement?
So the problem is that infrared measurement does not account for different pigmentation. So what that means is that infrared is going through the skin, but the pigmentation that's in darker skin tones absorbs that light. So if you've got an absorption of light, it's not giving you an accurate reading of the amount of oxygen that's in your body. So what we found, it's nearly 8% difference between somebody with white skin tone and somebody with black or darker skin tone, the difference in percentages. And as you know, as a nurse, that is a huge difference. That is a difference between life and death.
Oh, wow. So are you saying that we've been doing it wrongly, or there's something we haven't been taking note of when we're taking the pulse oximeter?
We've definitely been, we've been doing it wrong.
Oh, wow.
And it's not that we haven't had the research to back this up. So this research was first done about 40 years ago.
Oh.
So the research behind the fact that this was not an equitable piece of equipment and it didn't give you an accurate outlook on the well-being of a patient with darker skin tone came out 40 years ago. And we've had multiple different research studies to back that up. But we still remain to use the pulse oximeter in this way on the finger.
Oh, wow. So let's dive into the numbers. I understand there are some striking statistics regarding this issue. Can you throw some light on that?
Yeah, so I've already told you about the difference in percentages. So that difference in percentage is huge. So we could see the after effects of that in COVID, for example.
Okay, that's an interesting one. I was waiting for that.
Yes. So this, you know, people may not understand what pulse oximeter is, but when you say COVID, people then understand what this did. So in COVID time, to assess your well-being and to see how much oxygen is in your body, the first protocol was to measure your oxygen in your body by using a pulse oximeter.
Yeah.
So we had a huge increase in mortality rates. That means death rates in the Black community because we was using an outdated way of measuring oxygen. So we wasn't giving Black or brown skin patients the amount of oxygen that they needed at that time.
Interesting.
Yes.
So let's talk about identifying innovative solutions. So what solutions are you proposing in terms of these issues that you are raising today?
So surprisingly, even though we know that this is not equitable, we haven't moved on dramatically in innovation. So we haven't found a way around it until now. So there is a GP called Nick Gomprez, and he has invented a pulse oximeter that goes inside the ear canal.
Okay.
So he first invented this for patients with neuro dysfunction.
Okay.
And because he was thinking of using the muscles in the ear, he found that there's no pigmentation in the ear canal. That means that it is racially unbiased. So there's no bias in his innovation because there is no difference in the measurement of oxygen in the skin because there's no pigmentation to absorb that light. It goes in the ear canal. It's closer to your heart. It's closer to all your veins. So it's more accurate as well.
Okay.
And that's something called ear metrics.
Okay. So some people might argue that we're just here talking about changing products or kind of introducing products to the healthcare sector without any clear visions or any clear scope. So how do you address those issues?
I think the first way to address the issues is actually identifying that there is a problem. So there's a lot of nurses around that didn't even know that this
including myself.
Yes. And that's the issue. If you are a healthcare professional and you are using medical devices to base your well-being assessment on, and you don't know that there is a bias in that, then you can't give the best care to your patient.
Absolutely.
So the first and foremost is education. To educate the healthcare sector, but also to educate the patients and the public as well, because they need to know that even though you say my loved one doesn't look right, they're not responding right, but your device says that they've got 100% saturation, but I know that that's not true, then they can arm themselves with this information and then say to the healthcare professional looking after your loved one, actually, did you know that they may be a 8% difference in what you're seeing and what is actually happening to my loved one?
Oh, wow. Striking revelation. We didn't even take note during the time of the COVID. Okay, let's look about practical implications and the way forward.
Okay, so like I said, training is a huge thing, but doing that, we need to move in a unified way. We can't just do a training in one trust and then not everywhere else, because then that's where you get a postcode lottery in your health. So depending on where you live is dependent on how good your treatment is. It shouldn't be like that. It should be across the board. So I propose that this is done in an education section, in training for nurses, all medical staff, for doctors, for midwives, for anybody who is assessing patients' well-being. They should be able to understand that the medical devices that they are using has a bias, and to then take that into consideration with their whole holistic approach to assessing that patient, and then to have the ability to then advocate for themselves, and advocate for their patients. So if they feel like their patient doesn't look like the numbers on their screen, then you should be able to say, I can confidently say that person didn't look like that when they first come in, even though the saturation levels have not changed. I'm taking into consideration the skin tone. So I want that to be a normal, everyday consideration within your assessment.
Okay. So are we going to see, like in future, like see some kind of practical example? Let's say, for example, let's be practical. Let's say, okay, there's a white person here, there is a black person here, and they put the pulse oximeter on my skin and they put the pulse oximeter on the white skin. So how are we going to quantify that difference between the both of them to know that this person needs oxygen or this person don't need oxygen? Because we do know that there is also oxygen scale level where you can say this person need to be on scale 2 and this person need to be on scale 1 or scale whatever they want to scale that person, or probably get to that level where they don't worry about their oxygen level. So how can these people fit into this category?
And this is where the education comes in, because you can't just fix one thing. You have to overlook everything within that assessment process. So we have to put the pressure on the trusts to make sure that they have the right guidelines in place.
Yes.
To make sure that it's an anti-racist guideline, because they know that this is not equitable, but they're still using it. So they have a duty of care to make sure that every healthcare professional can make a judgment of assessment in a fair and safe way. And at this moment in time, that's not happening. So to move forward, we have to put pressure on our employees, on our employers, but also our unions have to step in. Yes. And also the NMC has to step in and say that this is not okay. We need to revise the guidelines so then all healthcare professionals can practice in a safe and equitable manner.
Okay, so you've heard from Gemma. So what we're trying to get at here is the use of the pulse oximeter. If people really understand the terms behind the pulse oximeter. I am a nurse. I understand what the pulse oximeter is used for. It's used for checking your oxygen level and also your heartbeats, to check their heart rate. Some people may call it heartbeat, or they call it beats per minute, or it checks your heart rate. So there is some discrepancies in the measurement, which Gemma is trying to point out here, that some skins might be different to the way they react to the infrared light that's on the pulse oximeter. Maybe somebody with a dark skin tone might be showing a different reading, and they might think that person might need oxygen and probably go give the person oxygen, or maybe probably the oxygen might read a different reading, thinking they don't need oxygen. And this has led to a lot of can we say so many people died during that
Absolutely,
period? So
yes,
what is the statistics of the people who died during the COVID? Any statistics or roughly any number? Or we're just basing it on personal experiences?
We're basing it on personal experience because it wasn't it was identified, it's always been identified, but it wasn't picked up as a data point because of that racism that's embedded in our system. It wasn't picked up as a data point. So we have to assume that there is a large proportion of black and brown skin patients who had died unnecessarily because they didn't get the oxygen that they needed.
Okay, so how can we be sure that this solution you're proposing will be 100% in comparison to the pulse oximeter?
So, good question. So there are clinical style trials going on now. Because of the technology and because it has been tested, it's in the latter stages of that. But on every single test, it's come out as superior to this. And because of the technology, it's, like I said, it doesn't have any pigmentation within the ear canal. It doesn't have the same effect with the infrared. So there's no difference in the absorption of that infrared.
Okay, I think that's a wrap. So that's a wrap for this episode. We hope today's conversation gave you a lot of insight. Me, I didn't know most of these things Gemma is saying here today, and I hope when you watch this over, if you got any questions, just put it on the comment section so we can answer your question. Gemma, can you tell them how to reach you if they need to reach you for more questions?
Yes, so you can reach us on essbaby.com. We have a dedicated section just called Can You See Me Now? And it's our project to try and educate, inform and guide people around pulse oximeter, but also to get equitable care in assessing well-being in people with darker skin tones. So we've got a range of topic guides and topics that we're discussing. So come along and join the discussions there. Also, you can join us on our social media as well, Essential Baby Co.
Yes, we want to hear from you and we want to hear how you think. So I want to thank Gemma once again for coming on this podcast, and I hope you have a good day. Thank you.
You too. Thank you.
Thank you, Gemma.
Thank you.